Down south, hunting is more than a pastime. It's a tradition. Whether you're tucked into a pine thicket for whitetail or chasing hogs through the bottoms, Nosler Ammo offers the kind of reliable, knockdown power that earns respect season after season. Trust the name that's built a reputation on performance. Trust Nosler.
Welcome to the Southern U Podcast, brought to you by Darden Archery on the OKest Podcast Network, with your co-host Matt Brock, Jeremy Ferguson, and Taylor McMurtry. If you're looking for all things land-related in the Southeast, you came to the right place. Whether it's real estate, habitat, wildlife, or just being outdoors, this is the place for you. Welcome to the Southern U. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Southern U Podcast, where the monitor on the camera that Jeremy has goes nuts and zooms in when it's not supposed to. Just kidding. Southern U Podcast, where we talk all things land related here in the Southeast. My name's Taylor, and you guys know the man on the other end of the call here is the real estate aficionado himself.
Some call him a real estate broker. Some call him a wildlife biologist. Some simply refer to him as the Ferg. Welcome to the show, the real estate, cattle, and habitat aficionado, Jeremy Ferguson.
Yeah. Right. Yep. Matt is burning stuff, so we don't have the good fortune of having Matt's opinions and expertise on today's show. But
yeah.
I think him and Bray are burning the place to the ground somewhere.
Is she burning with him today?
I don't know. I thought she may not be. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't keep up. There's too much going on for all of us.
There really is. But anyways, but yeah, guys, if you're a long-time listener, I know we've had a few people reach out here lately and just say, hey guys, been listening since the beginning or close to the beginning, and we really enjoy the show, and just want you to know that we are very, very grateful and thankful to have you listening, and having your support means a ton to us. And those of you who might be new or just tuning into what we're doing here, we do talk all things land. That could be real estate, that could be farming, agriculture type stuff, that could be wildlife, hunting, anything in between. But that's kind of our goal, is to shed light on those things, and specifically those things in the Southeast, because there just doesn't seem to be a whole lot of resources for those types of things in the Southeast. You get a lot of it in the Midwestern states, where climate is different and soil fertility is different and all kinds of things. Topography is different. But in the Southeast, things are different. So we talk about those things and try to stay in our lane, if that makes any sense. And so today we have a pretty good show. I guess it's somewhat of a depressing show, I would say, for some people. This episode here signals the end of deer season for everybody in the South. And for some people, it's like,
finally.
Me, yes, it's like a sigh of relief. It's just like, oh man, finally it's over. Like, we can just take a sigh of relief. I don't have to burden or worry myself like I need to hurry up and get some work done so that I can get out in the woods. I need to get in the woods, or I'm checking my cameras and I got a buck on camera and I got to get in the woods. And it's just like, you know what? Now that possibility is off the table. You can't go even if you wanted to, So it's like just take a deep breath, relax. And for some of you, it's very depressing because you may have had one buck tag left to fill and you just didn't get a chance to fill all of them, or you're like me and Jeremy and we don't ever fill tags ever. It doesn't seem like.
Nope.
Not
for lack of trying this year. I actually decided to do some hunting this year, trying to kill one individual deer. But let me tell you something. when you focus on killing one individual deer, your odds of success in a lot of places are not very good, especially when you hunt pressured deer. And that particular deer I was hunting was in a very pressured area, so never laid eyes on him.
Yep, that's
Got plenty of pictures of him, but never laid eyes on him. Not for lack of trying, not for lack of hunting right. Ingress, egress on the farms is good. It's just one of those things when you get deer that are really, really pressured, they don't spend a lot of time out in daylight in areas on our particular farm over there that's conducive to hunting. Now, if I wanted to go sit in a pine thicket on my butt, on the ground on a little turkey lounge or something like that, and yeah, I might have had a shot at him, get in his bedroom, but I typically don't hunt that hard generally. So,
well, such is hunting in the Southeast. It just seems
yep.
like that's about how it goes most places around here.
Yeah, it's funny. Matt and I talk about the different places we've got to hunt over there. Go 4 miles down the road and set. I think I set 3 times and saw 3 pretty good deer, and one, saw, let's see, saw 2 4-year-olds and a really nice 3-year-old, and 4-year-olds are just deer that not really wanting to take at this point. Trying to get to 5, and they did. They made it, both of them. So
hooray!
yeah, that particular piece of property, pretty good. And so far we got one more day left.
Yep.
Right, yeah, one more day left, and my bigger deer on my other track. And I say my bigger deer, that ain't a big track, so he's running around on 2 or 3 different landowners, but he has survived,
Mm-hmm.
and rightly so. He's a 5-year-old now, so he's not going to do anything but get harder to kill, I don't imagine.
Probably, like most of them, they don't get big by being stupid.
Yep.
But yeah, it is weird. I think I'm going to give it one last hoorah tomorrow and just see what happens. Don't really have high hopes for anything. It's just really, it's one of those things where, like, if I can be in the woods on opening day and I can be in the woods on the final day, I'm going to do that if at all possible.
Yeah.
Just
I'm
go.
I'm burnt out. I don't even have any interest going back.
Yeah, I mean, and I've been in those scenarios too, where it's like, again, I'm just relieved that it's over and kind of take a deep breath and
Yeah.
do some maintenance on gear and stands and sticks and ladder stands and just whatever else you got going on out there to just kind of decompress and think about what worked and what didn't work and maybe why it didn't work. And if there's any of that stuff you can control, or if it's completely outside of your control, which sometimes it is, and there's not a whole lot you can do about any of it. But either way, another season has come and gone. It's just crazy to think how fast it goes by. And it seems like the older that I get, the faster it goes.
Yeah. That's right. Well, I wasn't in it this year to begin with. I'd rather bow hunt as anything, and having shoulder surgery knocking me completely out of bow hunting. I just didn't have the want to this time.
Yep, for sure. No, that's me. I just got busy with work stuff and felt like running to the woods was not the responsible thing to do. Need to get some other stuff done so you can keep the bills paid and stuff. So killed a couple does early in the season, and that was really just about it, man. Didn't get a chance to go like I really wanted, but it is what it is. Thankful for the time to get out there. But I guess before we dive off into our topic of discussion, Jeremy, it's like you got some new threads on there, buddy. What you got?
Oh man, yeah. Our boy Taylor on the other side there has fashioned us up some new merch. And I've got and if I do this, if I try to get it on video, I don't know what my monitor is going to do. Probably zoom into my nose or catch something on the other side, but I'll try to get this one on the Acorn shirt.
That's right.
Yeah, and see there.
There goes.
Go check out my diploma up on the daggum wall behind me. I don't.
There it
If
goes. It's coming
somebody
back.
understands these Mac uh, settings for these monitors, and by all means in Zoom, let me know, because it dances around and it'll catch my ear for a minute, and then it'll zoom right up in between my eyes, and then I look like I'm 30 feet away. I don't know.
Yeah, well, yeah, we do have some new merch, which also means that we have a website that is up and functioning now. So you guys go check out thesouthernu.com. You'll find a lot of merch there. Obviously, we have more things coming, but right now that's kind of we've got a few different, I think six, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 different designs. Got a couple hats on the way and just things that we aren't ready yet, but we are doing pre-orders for a lot of this stuff. Make sure we have enough interest. The last thing we want to do is buy up a bunch of apparel and then not be able to sell it. So I guess we're really
Yeah.
going to find out how much you guys like us and how much you how much you support us, because we might think that we have a nice following, and turns out nobody really wants to wear any of our merch. So
Yeah.
check it
Whether they
out.
like us or not, you did a good job on the designs. I think obviously, everybody's going to have some hot sellers and some flops, but there's 2 or 3 I think that you've done that are really, really going to be hot sellers, and one more when I finally get the vector file for what I want to do.
That's right.
I know it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good one too. Yeah, I'm
We're-
wearing the Topo hoodie right here. You can see the Southern U on the left chest and on the back. I'm gonna try to do this without tangling myself up. I don't know if y'all can see the very back here.
We see your chair.
There you go. You can see the chair. Hang on. Sorry. Whoop. There. So,
Oh yeah, there you go.
yep. That's the Topo version of the logo, front and back. It's moisture wicking and lightweight, perfect for when it's really hot or when it's a little cool. Keep you
And I wear those shirts all the time.
for
Like you
sure.
say, whether it's hot or cold. Um, I fell in love with wearing those things when I was hunting out west, more, pronghorn hunting when it was really hot. Be chilly in the mornings when you get up out there, be in the 40s or 50s. Throw that on in a vest and go. And, by the afternoon when it was in the 90s,
Mhm.
when the sun trying to bake your skin off,
That is right.
that hood and those long sleeves.
That's right. Yeah, it's nice. I'm quite pasty myself, so I tend to wear long sleeves when it's hot outside. Whenever I worked with my dad doing HVAC, we would always wear this type of stuff, long sleeves. And, right in the dead middle of summer, July, August, something like that, people would be like, man, are you not just sweating to death? I'm like, well, yeah, I'm a sweat to death no matter what I wear, but at least this way I don't have to smear sunscreen all over my body every day going to work. So
Yeah, old
I,
Tay's in the ginger mafia over there.
that's right. I got to be careful. I will get turned into a lobster real quick.
And despite my red beard, I don't know what that's about, but uh, I don't blister, so
Uh,
thankfully.
I get it pretty bad. I got to be careful. But, anyways, that being said, shout outs, Jeremy. You got anybody you want to throw out there this week? Mine's gonna be pretty simple, but I was gonna give you first dibs if you want to.
Right, you go with yours.
All right, same one as I had last episode. I'm just trying to promote it because y'all know me. I love archery. I love bow hunting. Any excuse to sling arrows at foam or at animals, I'm there. So, new archery range opening up here in North Alabama. It's in DeKalb County. It's called 127 Archery, and they're taking memberships right now. They're actually BHA certified. They are going to be having some ASA qualifying tournaments there being hosted, and who knows? Down the road, we might even get to hang out there at one of their shoots and maybe have a live episode from the range. But brand new. There's not really another one around here that I'm aware of, other than there's one I think in Hoax Bluff, maybe, but that's a pretty good drive for those of us around here. So again, sorry those of you who aren't in the North Alabama area, but just check out Facebook 127 archery not .com, just 127 archery, and you can check them out. They've got a full 20 target range. I think there's going to be available to members to shoot year round pretty much. And it's like $20 for the year. Get you a membership. So if you like to sling arrows and you're in the area, go support these guys. They're trying to do something really special. And I think we're actually going to help them do that with help them as much as we can. So that's my shout out. What you got there, G
Well,
Ferg?
this is kind of a blanket one for a company, but I'm going to point out one individual. But they happen to be a sponsor. So First South Farm Credit.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah. Directly Joseph Clark. We have had a couple of really trying real estate closings, and man, there's nothing like having a good closing attorney that really helps you through when things pop up that you didn't expect. One either being with a buyer or seller or finances, and we've had a couple things pop up with some finances here recently, which, as a real estate agent, I'm not very deep into that's between lenders and buyers and all that. But Joseph has gotten us, out of a couple of binds and closed the deals. And man, just what makes the world go round in this business, having folks you can rely on.
No doubt. Yeah, you got somebody that's willing to go to bat for you and do some backflips or whatever's got to get done to get a deal done. That's a big asset to have. So.
Yeah. And got one more. We don't have any at this point any affiliation with Brad Searcy with Cowan Equipment, and my brain is on overdrive. Today's been a a really hectic day. Uh, Brad also owns a custom golf cart business, and for the life of me, can't remember the name. Wish I could, but met and had lunch with Brad last week, yeah, and really hooked us up. We've got a couple of really large development projects going on, and Brad's going to be providing our heavy equipment for lease and rental rates. And I can't recommend y'all reaching out to Brad, anymore. It's just the rates that we got from those guys at Cowan and Brad were tremendous, and they moved equipment for us, and just solid folks.
Yeah, man, for sure. Yeah, we got some big stuff moving, and hopefully have some bigger announcements later in the week for you guys. I hope, and if that happens, promise you, as soon as we are ready to hit go, we're gonna let you know about it. But I guess we'll jump right into the topic at hand. This is kind of the window in between the end of deer season and the beginning of turkey season. There is in Alabama now, and in Southeast in general, there's a little bit of a break, but there's really not much of one, and it's the gap has gotten smaller in recent years. When we used to have the season ending January 31st.
And can we please go back to that?
Yeah, now we've extended that on into 10 days of February, and so now that gap in between it is shorter. But having said that, I think I want to spend some time talking about what we can do, and it seems to be something that you guys care about. I won't say controversial, but it seems to be something that the majority of our listeners are interested in and want to talk more about, which is predators and predator management, predator trapping, the when, the why, all that kind of stuff. So we're just going to talk about that specifically in that post-deer season, pre-turkey season window. What should we be doing about predators, whether that be nest predators like possums and raccoons and things of that nature versus more what I would call apex predators that are taking down live animals like a coyote or a bobcat or something like that. So we're just going to talk about kind of what to do with predators during this window specifically because you heard on the last episode, Matt talked specifically about the period of time right before fawn drop being critical. That's not what we're talking about on this episode. Okay, we're going to talk about the window after deer season, before turkey season, and what you should be doing to kind of set both of those animals up, your deer herd and your turkey population, up for success, if that makes any sense. So,
yeah.
So Jay Ferg, I'm throwing the first one at you right here.
Well,
Why?
it automatically, the answer automatically,
Yeah,
it
by the
just,
way, that shirt's coming too. Y'all just stay tuned.
yeah.
First one is, why is the late winter window such a critical time for predator trapping? Or is it critical? That maybe is a better question. What?
It is, and the short answer is, man, that's trapping season. So, the fur harvester season is this time of year. Runs up into I'm gonna call it early spring, but
Mhm.
it. I forget what the dates. I think in Alabama, it ends fur trapping season. I think ends in the last day of February. Could be wrong. Look, I haven't trapped in a number of years. Not that I don't love it. All my trapping gear is still at the house. It's cleaned up and could be ready to go at a moment's notice. I just don't have the time to do it. And luckily enough, the properties that I either lease, own, or have access to hunt, we from a large predator management standpoint, coyotes, bobcats, things like that. Um, they're not really negatively impacting us because of the robust deer population that we have. And look, I'm speaking specifically toward deer when I'm talking about coyotes and bobcats. Obviously, coyotes, bobcats take turkeys and will get nests. But when I think coyotes, I'm thinking much more along the lines of taking fawns out of the recruitment. Um, but that's why it's so popular. Look, there is nothing more miserable in your life than being on your knees with a trowel and a basket or a drill and an auger or whatever tools you're choosing to use when it's 95 to 100 degrees, pounding stakes in the ground, bedding traps, baiting traps, and fighting with ants. Look, you can do it, and more power to you. And yes, it is very effective. But man, it sucks during the summer.
Yeah, like a lot of
So
things.
yeah, so and you're getting your best coats on your animals this time of year, and there again, it is legal trapping season. So
Right.
that's primarily the reason, in my opinion. And folks, they're giving up on deer season this time of year, and they're looking for something else to do. Stay in the woods. Turkey season not here yet, so it's a great time to be out in the woods. It's starting for us in the South, obviously starting to warm up. Um, I'm in Gunnersville,
Mhm.
Alabama, northeast Alabama, and it got well. And I'm gonna say this at the office: the thermometer is out on the wall, but it was 71 degrees here today.
Oh, I believe it. It was
So
hot.
yeah, it was hot. Um, so it's starting to warm up this time of year, so you can get kids out and about, and it's not freezing but cold, and get them involved, especially with the small predators, the possums, the coons, skunks, things of that nature.
Right. Now, I want to ask you something. Maybe I know we're talking trapping here, but if you are really trying to hammer predators during this particular window of time, that post deer season, pre turkey season, are you also advocating that you maybe set up on like doing some night hunts for coyotes and shooting them with rifles and stuff like that, or primarily just setting traps?
It depends. For me, you're much more effective setting traps. We've got coyote breeding season when it's very effective to remove coyotes, and then during pupping season, when they've got pups in the den, it's a very effective time to be trapping coyotes and having a large impact because those groups, the mature animals are out and they're really hunting a lot of food, trying to keep pups fed, trying to keep up with lactation, things like that during the spring summer months. But during the breeding season, there's some territory lines there, between all these packs on the landscape, and you can take advantage of that time of year. It's no different than the rut. Some of these critters get not stupid, but they don't quite act the same when they're protecting a territory and breeding.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. And I guess just those. I mean, is there possible to overpressure these animals if you're trying to trap and you're trying to shoot them at night and stuff like that too? Like, can you put so much
Yeah,
pressure that they,
you
you know,
you can reduce and this is just my opinion now. I don't think it's been studied or anything like that, but in my opinion, you can definitely reduce your effectiveness of trapping by going out and shooting. That's strictly opinion because coyotes are smart. They're smarter than deer, in my opinion. And if you're trying to get an animal, and of course I'm holding my hands up here, but if you can get an animal to put their foot on a spot the size of a golf ball, ping pong ball, that's tough. Um, it takes a lot of practice and a lot of know-how to do that efficiently and effectively, time and time again. And so the least amount of activity that you can spend on a track that's being intensively trapped, I think is beneficial.
yeah. Well, and I know that they should qualify as predators, maybe not to the degree that a coyote or a bobcat or something like that does, but in places in the South that actually have them, I mean, hogs are in that category too. So does the method change when you're trying? Are you trying to get hogs off the landscape during this time of year too, or does it matter? Or because I know I've heard you and Matt both talk about if I've been hired to trap pigs on a property, I'm telling the landowner, do not shoot at any pigs until I'm done with what I'm trying to do here.
That's
Because
right.
I'm trying to get them to go in this trap, and it may take them a few weeks to get brave enough to go in there. And then one afternoon, you stroll by and do a drive by, or
Yeah,
something like that. Now you've kind of blown it. So, I mean, is that kind of the same deal with some of this stuff too?
absolutely. If you are trying to remove a large number of animals from your particular property, whether you're trapping hogs, coyotes, um, bobcats, to a lesser degree, in my opinion, the nest predators,
Mm-hmm.
uh, coons, possums, things like that. But primarily speaking, on the hogs and the coyotes, the least amount that you can be on that property during that trapping period, the better, in my opinion. Hogs are very, very uh, pressure oriented. You start putting pressure on them, hunting, trapping, whatever it is, they're going to move. They're pretty. I'm going to say this. But you'll have people with differing opinions here, but most places that I have trapped hogs, their sight fidelity is pretty low. So if you push on them a whole lot, they're going to move and they're going to go to where they're not pressured, assuming that you're not bumping them out of their territory. Now they have pretty hard, fast lines when it comes to territories and most places where there's a lot of pigs. So I don't necessarily think you're going to press them out of their territory unless you're super aggressive. Because then you created more strife between sounders.
Right. No doubt.
And coyotes are the same way. They've got well established territories and uh, in the pack side of things, we don't generally see huge packs of coyotes. Um, you'll hear folks, comment on hearing, oh, I've got a pack of, it's got to be 15 coyotes that I hear out my back door. No, folks don't understand the number of vocalizations. Good Lord, told you I had brain dead. Don't understand the number of vocalizations that are coming from one individual dog when they're, you know, raising Cain at night when you're hearing all those different vocalizations.
Mm-hmm.
And they all have meaning. You know, I'm not even going to put trappers in the category. Uh, really, really good trappers that study coyotes, they understand all those vocalizations. But the guys that night hunt and use calls, they really really understand what each one of those vocalizations mean, whether that's a territory deal or whether that's pups, whether it's aggressive or not. So I'm not a huge night hunter. I've got buddies that do it, and I understand the vocalizations, um, but I'm not a night hunter, so I don't use a lot of that to my advantage.
Right. Well, that kind of.
Last, but
Oh yeah.
I enjoy my sleep.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I used to bow fish a lot, and that was fun. And then it's just like, man, then you got to try to function the next day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
those all night shoots are fun.
And it's expensive. It doesn't have to be, I don't guess, but the guys that I have night hunted with, and I've got thermal and all that kind of stuff. It's not cheap, okay,
Right.
but it's just a whole different animal. Those guys are extremely effective with removing predators off the landscape. Uh, it's not as effective as trapping, in my opinion, because guns are only working the hours that you're behind them and calling coyotes and trying to shoot them, and you're moving stands, so you're not spending an inordinate amount of time working on one individual property. Traps are working,
Well, you
24/7, 365 if they're in the ground. So, you may really, really solid trappers understand that you may put this trap in the ground, and as long as something doesn't set that trap off, bait don't go bad, get covered in ants, or whatever the case may be, that trap may sit there for a month and no activity, and then you ride by and bam, there he is or there she is. You've got a dog in the trap,
Right.
or a cat in the trap, whatever it may be.
Well, that kind of brings up this next topic or next question here. But of those predators, which ones do you think should be the highlight of what you're trying to do or what you're trying to manage in this block of time in the year? Are you more concerned with raccoons and possums and stuff like that that could potentially raid a turkey nest? Are you more concerned with bobcats and coyotes that could chase down deer as they're trying to do whatever it is they're doing to try to survive what's left of the winter and those sort of things?
In Alabama, here where we are, I'm much more focused on bobcats and coons and possums. Your primary nest predators. And bobcats are very effective turkey killers. But another reason that I will focus in on bobcats this time of year is I don't study regulations from other states. And look, this could have changed since I worked for the government and was trapping a lot. But to trap a bobcat, it always has been in Alabama, anyways, where you could trap during trapping season, during fur harvester season,
Right.
but you can shoot bobcats year round. So you've got some gray area there when it comes to legalities and harvesting bobcats outside of trapping season. So technically speaking, a guy can catch a bobcat in a trap in the state of Alabama outside of fur harvester season, choke a bobcat down. Bobcats don't handle lack of oxygen well. And look, y'all, I understand that this is not the most pleasant thing in the world to talk about, okay? But you put a choke stick on a cat, and by the time you get him loose, they don't feel well. Cats don't handle lack of oxygen very well. And so legally speaking, you deprive him of oxygen for a few seconds, and he's going to be a little addled when you release him out of the trap. Then it's perfectly legal to shoot him.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So it's kind of a weird spot. But because it's legal to remove bobcats during fur harvester season, I focus a little more on them because I don't like riding gray area. And look, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, if Alabama has changed that. Like I said, I am not up to speed if they've made any changes. But that was always kind of a weird thing. But for me, uh, because turkeys in certain locations, and we're no different where I am, turkeys have been struggling. And so I am much more focused on my nest predators this time of year. Number one, it's pretty easy. They're used to being coming to everybody's bait pile for their deer. So go set up your coon cuffs around your feeders or around your bait piles and wear them out and stay after them until nesting season is through.
And I'm gonna ask
That's
you,
my focus.
right. Well, I'm gonna ask you kind of this may sound like a really dumb question here, but what brings it up is what Matt said last episode, where he's talking
Yeah.
about allowing, when you've got a really high deer density, allowing those coyotes to work for you. If you're
Mm-hmm.
really trying to manage and maintain a population, and you have a ton of fawns, that all that means is that when deer season rolls around, you've got to pull the trigger a lot to keep that balance in check, or you can let those coyotes work for you, and catch whatever, just say 15-20% of your fawns or something like that. That's just
Yeah.
less deer that you have to kill. So is there a place in the ecosystem where these predators, it's not that you want to completely eradicate and wipe every one of them out. There's not like there's no coyotes on your landscape. There's no raccoons. There's no
Yeah.
like,
Nobody wants that. Number one, that's not what we're advocating for.
right. And that's what I'm getting at is like,
Yeah.
is that even, I mean, number one, it's not possible, but two,
Not possible.
um, it's not even really a benefit. You know what I mean? If you were able to do that, is that even beneficial?
No, not well. Let me let me correct myself. If if you are going to spend the time to control your populations with a trigger, then yes, it can be beneficial because coyotes and bobcats they're indiscriminate on what sex they're
Sure.
going to. Now they aren't indiscriminate killers. They are going to kill a lot of animals just by chance, but a lot of them are going to be animals this time of year that they are able to take because they have gotten run down because of the rut. They've had some other type of injury because of hunting season, something like that. So, they're actually, you know, more or less doing a service to that animal that, taking an animal out that's otherwise suffering a little bit. Now I don't and I mean that by the injured animals. I don't mean the ones that are just run down. They can here in the South, they're going to recoup. We don't have the brutal winter kills that they do, up north, out west with deep snow and deer starving to death. That's tough to think about, tough to see. And we saw lots of pictures of that through this winter blast that we had through the country. I saw a number of videos and pictures of deer that were run down from the rut that, they're in the middle of town laid up next to a house, trying to gather what warmth there is from the sun hitting on the side of a house. And they lay there and expire because of the cold temperatures. Look, it happens. So at a point, predators are doing a service to certain animals, but they remove the management ability then. So we've I've mentioned it on Facebook and posts, and people take it the wrong way, unfortunately, and that's understandable. When I comment that we have trapped and I held contracts on close to 1 million acres, and I believe over 1 million acres at one time when I was running trappers from here to the Western U.S. Keeping in mind that these are generally very, very large cattle and sheep.
Right.
Okay, not recreational properties.
Yeah, if you don't measure it in acres and you measure it in sections,
Yes,
that's
yes,
a little different category,
yeah, yeah. We had a number of clients that owned in excess of 200,000 acres.
Yeah,
So look, it doesn't take a lot to add up to 1,000,000 acres. So I'm not trying to be boastful in saying that. The guys that at that time I was contracting, out were some of the better trappers on the planet. One of them, very much so, trained by some of the well-known trappers that have done all the films and books and all that. And I was lucky enough to learn from him. But it's just I'm trying to share experience that is across a wide portion of the country.
right,
And when we're trapping under contract, we're one required to turn in certain states what we're catching, and working in conjunction with state and federal agencies at times, doing certain contracts. We're keeping very, very good records, so I can glean a lot from, and it's anecdotal, it's not scientific, but if somebody had wanted to break down the statistics of it, it was possible.
right.
I wasn't doing that, and had no interest in doing that. Um, but just trying to share experiences of what has worked and what hasn't worked over a huge portion of the country, I think is beneficial.
Well, yeah,
I'm
it's
not. I'm not trying to elevate myself because it wasn't me.
right,
It was guys that were working either directly for me or contracted folks for me, um, that were doing all this. I'm just the one that kind of the gatekeeper of all the numbers. So
right.
it's just something that I can look at and share. And it's not a, lack of a better term, a pissing contest of I've trapped more coyotes than you or I've shot bigger deer than you. It's just experience.
Sure. Yep, for sure. I mean, this is kind of a sidebar here, but by the way, this is not directed at any person or anything like that. We love you guys that are listening to our podcast, engaging with our content, good, bad, or anything in between. Like, we're
Absolutely.
just glad you're here. I told Jeremy today earlier, just like I do find it very interesting from a research perspective, because like, you guys have heard me talk about this on the show before, but I don't know how to do much. But the degree that I got in psychology with behavior analysis was like, if you don't know how to do anything, if you graduate from this program, you're going to learn how to conduct and publish research. And so, I mean, statistics, like all those sort of things it's a big deal in that program. And so it always kind of, you know, flabbergast me when I hear or see someone online. It doesn't have to be us that they're talking about. It can be talking about somebody else.
Right.
They'll be talking about some professional, some industry professional that has devoted their entire lives, academically, professionally, in the field, doing the stuff, research, and then publishing their findings. They devoted decades, sometimes 3 or 4, 5 decades of research. And they're like, yeah, that guy's an idiot, stupid. It's like the equivalent of watching the Super Bowl last night and sitting in your lazy boy and being like, yeah, that guy sucks. He can't throw a football. And it's like, dude, like, this guy devoted his entire life to studying this stuff. It's not like you said, it's not a boastful bragging session. It's just reality of like, I just have more experience than you do. And
That's it.
it just is what it is, man. I would think a general statement is the guy that's done it for 3 decades, he might know a little more than you, not because he's a jerk, because he just devoted his life to it. And so it just always cracks me up when I'll see a comment like that. Like, that guy's a moron. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We don't have to agree on everything. That's fine. But it doesn't mean the guy's an idiot or the girl's an idiot or whatever.
Yeah, I mentioned a case when we got talking about that today to you that I saw on Facebook, and I won't mention any names, but very, very well known deer guy that made the statement on somebody's post that he was able to change genetics on small properties through selective harvest of bucks.
Culling,
Culling. And went on to say he didn't care what science said, that he could, he was able to prove it and he could see the difference. And it would be a great conversation because I would ask, and I did. However, all that post went away. Don't have any idea why it went away, but somebody removed it. But that's he claimed 20 years of selective culling improved the genetics. 20 years of data is awesome. Why don't pull back? That would be phenomenal information to see. I would love to see that data set.
By the way,
if you can prove it, that's awesome.
Yeah. By the way, not in a smart aleck way. Like it would academically would be amazing to see. Like
academically, statistically,
yes,
seeing those numbers would be awesome. But I've got my reservations whether it's accurate. Could be. That's why I would love to see the numbers.
Sure.
But two, it's great to have those conversations. Everybody in the country could learn something from this.
Sure.
But we're not going to know, if it's not available to us, I guess.
Right. Anyways, I don't want to chase too many rabbits, but that was just the thing is that you'll never hear anybody on our show who, by the way, has experience talk about it in an arrogant manner. It just kind of is what it is. Like generally, I tell my son the same thing. My oldest is 8 years old, and he likes. I don't say he likes to argue. He argues a lot with me.
Yeah.
And I finally there have been times where I'm like, listen, I'm not gonna go back and forth with you anymore. You're just gonna have to trust the fact that I am your dad and I have lived on this earth longer than you have, and you're just gonna have to trust me that I know what I'm doing and I know what I'm talking about. And you're 8. You know what I mean? Like you're 8 years old and I'm 37. Like you're gonna have to trust that I just happen to know more about life than you, and just that's that.
Yeah,
I don't like it. You know what I mean?
That's right. And there's caveats to all this. If somebody tells you that they know how and it's the best way, because that's the way they've always done it, red flag, huge red flag.
Sure.
But if somebody says, okay, I've done this over 40 years, here's the anecdotal evidence that I have. And by the way, here's the records we kept. Then you start listening. Then you start paying attention. It's not always a pissing contest. Like there's, I have probably, as far as trapping contracts gone, covered, a lot more acres than a lot of people. But that don't mean I can trap better than anybody else out there. It's just I had the access to the numbers. Like Casey Shootman, that's with the management advantage. I would never argue with him about trapping. I don't know how much he's still trapping. I'm sure it's still a lot. But I would be laughed out of the room if I tried to compare my trapping prowess with his. But, I don't know how many contracts he still holds. And as acres he's covered. I don't know, and I don't care. He's very accomplished, and if he starts speaking on trapping, I'm going to listen.
Yep, sure, no doubt. But anyways, change the subject a little bit. You touched on this a little bit earlier about what is happening right now. It's their breeding season, and for predators and things like that. The question I had here was what's happening biologically with predators and prey during this time of year. Like what exactly is going on the landscape from a biological standpoint that make this window kind of a good time. Obviously, I know we talked about the enjoyment of just, well, it's not deer season anymore and turkey season hasn't gotten here yet, and I just want to be in the woods and feel like I'm doing something. Well, that's part of it, but from the animal's perspective, what's happening during this block of time that makes it a good opportunity?
Yeah, by and large, I mean, if you pay attention to the cyclic nature of nature, um, obviously springtime, late summer is when you're going to have a lot of prey young on the ground, whether that be birds, mammals, what have you. Uh, you're producing a lot of offspring during the spring months, and so predators are really no different. Um, they're going to be, and I'm giving it a wide range, but sometime this time of year, most of our predators are reproducing. I'm not going to say it's December or January, but sometime from December to March, that's your window. And so our trapping season encompasses a lot of that. Okay, not all of it. It does get up to March, but it doesn't really. I don't think it enters into March as far as our trapping season goes. So uh, the predators are going to have young on the landscape either a little before or right along the same time that a lot of our game, or not game, but prey species are having young hit the ground. So it works well. There's a lot of new animals out there on the landscape for the predators to catch and kill and provide nourishment for their bodies, for lactation or whatever, and to feed their up and coming young. Um, it's very notable. You will know it. Everybody understands that this time of year is the skunk rut. Uh, it don't matter where you are if you've got skunks, and most people do. January, February is a huge time to start seeing skunks out in your yard, cross the road, run over in the road. It's just that time of year. But many of your predator species are reproducing this time of year,
Right.
or breed, should I say?
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned skunks because I can distinctly remember a time in Jackson County. How that terrain is, a lot of topography, big
Mm.
cedars, boulders, big rocky terrain up there. And I remember one morning, it was not quite good daylight yet, and I'm hunting a knob, kind of, top of a ridge, and I hear something, and I mean, it sounds like an elephant running through the woods, and I'm just like, straining my eyes, trying to see what's going on, trying to see what it is. It sounds like the biggest buck on planet Earth is about to run right past me, and it finally gets probably within 20 yards of me, and it's a skunk, and just like, oh my gosh, but they're just I don't know where he was going, but he was going there fast, and I started paying attention over the years. I've probably seen more skunks in the woods in January than I have any other time, and it's just like, yeah, skunk rut.
That's it.
They're running wild just like the deer are, I guess. So.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just that time of year for those critters. Um, December to early mid March, something like that. I don't I don't recall. I don't remember our coyotes breed as early as December. I think it's February, March primarily.
Mm.
Uh, but I do. Who was it? It was either Chuck. Matt's dad or Matt talking about hearing and seeing some bobcat reproduction going on.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, he said, "Man, I didn't know they made that kind of noise."
No thanks. That sounds
Yeah.
painful.
So and that's we're right here in first part of February, so that adds up. Timing adds up.
Sure. Let's see, one more here that I've got. What are the biggest mistakes or misconceptions people have about predator control during this window, during this particular block of time?
I guess it depends on the species. Primarily for coyotes, I think the biggest misconception is that trapping coyotes now and not trapping any other time is just as effective as trapping them any other time, if that makes sense. If I had time to focus on coyotes, I am going to attempt to do that within about a 30-day window of my peak fawn drop. Wherever my property may be. So if your fawn drop is late August, then I would really key in on my coyotes uh, late July, early August. That
Mm.
I want to take as many of them off the landscape. Hey, there goes my dang book. There we
Just kidding,
go.
coming back.
Yeah, my monitor decided it wanted to get my best up and down there and then come back to my face. Uh, I want as many of the coyotes off the landscape just prior to fawn drop.
Hmm.
Um, you know, and as we always talk about, your habitat needs to be number one. So if you've got good habitat and then you move in and you trap those predators and remove those predators, then you're going to be effective at predator swamping with the deer on your landscape. There's just going to be more fawns out there on landscape than they can take. Now, that can be exacerbated a little bit if you've got a really poorly structured deer herd. If your breeding window for deer is 2.5 months long and you're dropping fawns 2.5 months long, then you're giving coyotes too much opportunity to pick fawns off, and they're going to be more successful, and they're just going to become more successful because it gives them a longer window to learn that component is out there for the taking, and it gives them more of a longer time frame, to impact your herd. Because if you've got fawns dropping, say you drop 100 fawns over the course of 3 weeks versus you drop 100 fawns over the course of 3 months, coyotes are going to be much more successful at removing a high percentage or a higher percentage during the 3 month period than they are the 30-day period, whatever, 3 week period.
Right.
Um, Bobcats, look, they don't seem to be as big of a problem with anything, even though they are absolutely killers. They're very adept at catching birds, so turkeys, quail, things of that nature. They are absolutely taking deer, so I'm not minimizing that. Um, but by and large, people are concerned about coyotes for deer and the nest predators for the turkeys, and rightly so.
What about, I know we haven't talked about it much. What about foxes? Do they, I mean, are they as much a concern as, is it tiered like coyote, bobcat, and then fox at the end? And
And
then,
there again, it's going to depend, but your predator makeup changes uh, depending on how many of your larger predator you have. If you have a ton of coyotes,
mhm.
you're not going to have a lot of red fox on landscape. They're gonna remove the red foxes from the landscape for you. You'll have gray foxes, and you may have a sizable number of them because if you don't know this, gray foxes climb trees, so they can get away from a coyote getting up a tree. Red fox, whether he goes in a burrow or whatever, coyotes are eventually going to catch up to them. So if you have a lot of red foxes, you do not have a lot of coyotes, in my opinion. Now, that's got a lot to do with how your habitat's set up and what's surrounding you. On our farm, I don't trap predators on my farm. Uh, Knock on wood, I have not lost a calf to predation from anything. Um, but it's kind of, careful the devil you know for the one that you don't. Uh, you can remove predators that aren't really causing you a problem, and the transients or the pack of the territory that neighbors you um, could move on, and they could be very well established calf killers. You don't know that. But we don't seem to have a lot of coyotes here. I get one on camera. Oh gosh, maybe once every couple of weeks, and that's about it. But I see red foxes every night. When I take Murphy out before we go to bed, I see red foxes every single night, and generally more than one.
Really?
Yeah,
That's cool. Yeah, that's just curious. I mean, I know that in in some ways a predator is a predator, and you have to sort of uh, consider all of them. But
absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
some, like you said, aren't causing you any problems. It's kind of a don't start none, there won't be none type of situation.
That's right. And everybody that scratches a pile of crap in the middle of your dirt road, uh, in your hunting club or your property, you're going to see rabbit hair if you got any rabbits, and if you've got deer, you're going to see deer hair, especially this time of year. But the one thing that people need to keep in mind, seeing a lot of deer hair and coyote and bobcat, scat, especially from the coyote side of things, is they may be scavenging gut piles and dumps and things like that. So just because you're finding deer hair doesn't mean they're taking live deer. In a lot of cases they're not, but they're certainly capable of it. Don't get me wrong. But if you live in an area or you manage ground in an area that's got abundant prey species, like rabbits and rats and birds and mice and what have you, those are easier to catch. Okay, it takes more of them, but they are easier to catch. For large predators. So uh, if your habitat is right, generally your prey component, you have a ton of rabbits and rats and mice and things that are a little easier to catch. So you will see coyotes kind of focus in on that because deer are a little bit harder to catch, other than the fawns. They're going to key in on fawns, but if your habitat is managed in such a way that you have good uh, fawning habitat and nesting habitat, you're going to reduce that rate anyway.
Right.
So,
I got you.
so really, best case scenario is work on your habitat first and then trap. If you can't work on your habitat, then trap, but do it at the right time.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of leads to our last question here. It's actually a perfect segue for that. So, how should predator trapping fit into a bigger habitat strategy? Like you said, if some of you guys, I mean, like us, I mean, you may have a lease that you get to hunt, but you're
Yeah.
not allowed to manipulate the landscape really at all, other than maybe planting a food plot.
Yeah. If you're hunting on a lease and you've got no ability to manage the habitat, then by all means, do the incidental shooting. Um, Look, that's a feel good exercise, and people can argue if they want. We're not talking about on an individual deer level. We are talking about on a biological and a landscape level that you're generally not making any, and definitely not a significant impact by incidental shooting from a deer stand of coyotes.
Yep.
To me, there again, it's opinion, it's anecdotal because it's so rare it can't be studied. Statistically, you can't validate whether or not an incidental shooting of a coyote is going to impact the success of your deer herd or your turkey population. It just can't be done. Trapping is really, it's hard enough. It can be done. It's been widely studied, and it shows to be different uh, wherever the property is. So you may see different results in Florida than you do Arkansas. You'll see different results from Texas to Alabama. So it's not a one size fits all deal. But focus number one, if you can, on habitat. If you can't, you've got the incidental shootings. Yes, there again, primarily a feel good thing because we as humans are very emotional in our decision making processes. If you're going to trap, if the only time you can trap is in the trapping season, fur harvester season, then by all means trap then. But if you can, target just prior to either your nesting season or your fawning season, and get as close to it as you can.
Mm-hmm. For sure, because and I want to make abundantly clear what Jeremy said now and what Matt said on the previous episode. Shooting a coyote, let's just say, off of a fawn that's ran down a deer or a fawn and it's trying to kill it, and you shoot it first. Does that have an impact on that individual deer's life? Well, yeah, of course it does.
Yeah.
But you're talking about, again, from a statistical standpoint, you have to in order to say that something was effective or ineffective, you have to show the stats that proves it worked or proves that it did not work.
Mm-hmm.
And what they are trying to say is, if you build out this set of data across an entire year, let's just say, you shooting the one or two coyotes from the stand that you shot is not going to be able to be measured. If you can't measure it, then you can't prove whether or not it worked or not.
Correct.
That's what we're getting at here. It's like the impact that you are making is negligible at minimal at least at the most, or at the most, because it can't be measured. And if you can't measure it, then it's hard to prove whether something worked or not. So anyway, that's all they're getting at. It's not to say that you may or may not have saved that deer's life by shooting that coyote, but you don't know what other coyotes were eating other stuff on the landscape at the same time. You know what I mean? It's just hard to do.
Yeah, and the argument's going to be, well, it's kind of the same premise of pulling the trigger on a deer. If you pull the trigger on a deer, you guarantee that deer dies.
Yep.
If you let that coyote take that deer, yes, you guarantee that deer dies, and it's not going to pass on genetics, or it's not going to be the buck that you're able to harvest. And that's the argument, and I get that argument, but we are not here and trying to provide education and experiences and give you tools to put in your toolbox that's only impacting one individual animal.
Right.
This is population level, landscape level management decisions, and one individual deer or one individual coyote or one individual turkey doesn't change those results. Like you say, you can't measure that.
Right.
Now, if you were able to shake your crystal ball up and go, man, that's the 200-inch deer that we're going to kill in 6 years. I get it. I do. I get it. But we don't have that ability.
No, and that's what we were told in a lot of those statistics classes. When you have these, like a bell curve, you've got outliers on both sides.
Yep.
Right? Well, it's not that those don't happen. It's not that they don't exist. It's that it's so rare that it from a measurable standpoint can't be measured. And if we can't measure them, then we can't consider them. We can't throw it into everything else. So,
and it's not that we're saying that it doesn't matter. Yeah, it matters, but there again, we're trying to make at least back down from landscape level, at least large property management decisions and one individual animal out of any of those species is not something that we need to try to track.
Right. Well, man, that's
But-
hopefully. I mean, I hope that makes sense, y'all. We're not telling you to
Yeah.
like don't shoot coyotes. I mean, shoot them. Who cares?
No,
Like,
absolutely.
just understand that if that's the only form of predator management, or trying to manage your predators, that's probably not going to
Yeah.
give you the results that you're looking for.
And I asked a guy, and he kind of got glassy eyed with me because we were talking about the very same thing about shooting incidental coyotes. And this guy was a huge turkey hunter, and he was kind of not arguing with me, but he was kind of pushing the envelope. Well, you've got to shoot those when you can because you are having an impact. And I looked at him and said, well, from a turkey hunter aspect, I said, we know it's well proven that raccoons are huge nest predators. They get a lot of nests, right? And he's like, yeah. I was like, how many raccoons have you shot from a deer stand? None. And I promise you, he sees them almost every time he's in the woods. So I think it's an emotional thing. A lot of it is when it comes to coyotes, because by and large, that's the only animal that they treat that way.
Right. Yep. Well, I mean, there is something gruesome about getting a trail camera photo of a fawn's head in a coyote's mouth that just pisses you off. Like, I want to shoot that thing, but you didn't see the raccoon crush up, 12 eggs. You know what I mean? To eat those. Yep. Like, so
but
yeah.
The good Lord designed the system in a way that it's supposed to work. Okay, we as humans are the ones that have flubbed it up. So if you take us out of the equation, who knows what would have ended up, what the world would be like if there was whatever. I'm not getting into that deep philosophical conversation, but if fire was still on the landscape by lightning strikes and things of that nature, and the habitat was where it should be, coyotes are only going to be so successful at removing fawns from the landscape. Raccoons are only going to be so successful at removing turkeys or eggs from the landscape that they're only going to have so much success. We've changed the landscape. Therefore, we're having to try to step in and assist in the management of the processes that are no longer happening in a quote unquote natural way without human influence. If there weren't, and I'm not pointing any fingers, but kind of am, if the South wasn't dominated by poorly managed pine plantations and row crop farms where we farm ditch to ditch, wood line to road, or have pine trees that we've eliminated all herbaceous growth underneath, then there really wouldn't be the need for this discussion near as much.
Right.
So it's just everybody's going to have their different take on it. Me being I love deer hunting, but I'm eat up with turkeys. If I'm focusing on one thing and really wanting to have an impact on a species that is and struggling in some places right now for sure, that I'm really out there with my coon cuffs or DP traps, and I'm trying to catch raccoons. I'm not worried about possums and skunks, but with the lack of a fur market, which is why nobody traps anymore. Right. If there was a fur market and there was money to be made, we wouldn't be having this conversation either, because there are big trappers across the landscape making a living at this. There's no fur market, so especially in the South. So these predators are just going unchecked.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. Well, yeah, just about wrap up this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that you kind of understand the perspective I'm trying to provide here. It's not that anything that anybody is doing on the predator landscape is bad, whether that's shooting them from your stand or shooting them at night or running traps or whatever. I don't know that any of it is bad. The point we're trying to make is that there's reasons, depending on, a lot of things are circumstantial, but there are reasons to only trap. There's reasons to, like Matt has said, he's got a place that has the potential for a tremendous deer density at places that he hunts and manages. Well, in that case, it's like I either have to shoot a whole lot of deer next year, or I can let some coyotes do some work for me.
Yeah.
Those sort of things. That's not the case everywhere. That's not like we always say. Seems like the answer to every question that gets asked on here is it depends because it does. So hope you enjoyed that one. But
Yeah, and I will say a couple of things about the predator management and trapping. Start out with the hunting and the shooting, especially at night. If you're going to do that, uh, start going with somebody that's done it, been successful. Uh, Identifying, of course, our technology is much better than it was even just 4 or 5 years ago. But identifying animals with, especially cheap thermal or cheap night vision, cannot always be easy. Try to be, well, no, don't try to be. Be extremely careful. Understand your equipment. Make sure you can positively identify the animal that you're shooting at, whether it be a cow, calf, somebody else's dog. Know your surroundings. Know where your bullet's going to go. Shooting things at night is totally different than shooting them in the daytime, as far as from a safety factor. And by all means, look, I love seeing predators removed from a management standpoint. Um, do it in a way that is respectful of the animal.
sure.
I get the allure of piling up 100 coyotes that's been shot in a coyote hunting contest. I get it, okay, but anti-hunters don't need any more ammunition against us than they've already got. And look, we're going to get flack from saying that. I am. And I get it. But I want there to be longevity for that sport and it not be attacked and antis not put enough pressure politically on states where you're already losing your rights to ban those hunting competitions. I'm not commenting whether they should or they shouldn't. I don't care. But show respect to the animal. If you're going to be trapping, do it in a legal and humane method. Um, if you're out on the landscape and you see people and know people that are poisoning coyotes or they're treble hooking predators, which a lot of people don't never heard of that, never seen it. It's brutal. It's awful. Tying bait up on a treble hook high enough for a predator to get it, but not get his feet back on the ground and hang there and die, or hang there until you shoot. It's pathetic.
Yeah, it's no place for that kind of nonsense.
Yeah. So try to keep that in mind. Look, there's going to be times that you're going to catch somebody's pet in a leg hole trap if you trap enough. Do all you can do for that animal not to be injured. Uh, Release it, let it go on its way. If it is injured, my personal belief is you need to keep your dog on your own property, or you need to keep your pet on your own property. Pet owners don't see it that way. So there's a fine line, and we lose rights that way very easily
Oh yeah,
as,
for sure.
as hunters and trappers, and antis are going after trapping much more than they are hunting, because it's an easy thing to portray as being inhumane.
Sure.
That everybody wants to put a picture up of a quote unquote, a jawed bear trap, and those ain't legal anywhere. But do it in a legal and humane fashion, and you'll be okay.
Yep, that's right. The guys, listen, thanks so much for sticking around and supporting us again. Get over to the new website, thesouthernu.com. Check it out. We're putting some blogs up. Hopefully here pretty soon we've got a couple being submitted and from different people, not just us. But you'll get all that stuff for free. The podcast is available there. The the YouTube channel is also there where you can find it and see what we're putting out on YouTube. It's not just podcasts. We've got other kind of management stuff and in the field type stuff that you can see there as well. And who knows? There's some merch that's on there too. If you feeling froggy, want you an acorn shirt like Jeremy's got on, or a topo. We've got all kinds of stuff coming in the works, and so we're excited to share that stuff with you too.
Yeah.
And please stay tuned. Like I said, there's something we've been working on for a better part of 18 months now, probably.
Yeah.
And Lord willing, we're going to launch that thing this week. It is we're kind of getting down to the nitty gritty and working through the kinks and making sure everything is doing what it's supposed to do and looks the way it's supposed to look and all those sort of things. So
Yeah, let's mention our workshop, again too. I had some calls and texts about it. So
yep.
March the 7th, we are going to have a landowner land management workshop in Marshall County, Alabama. There is a cost associated, but we're going to feed you. We're going to have some door prizes, things of that nature,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to get to see a track that was simply a timber track and nothing else that we have been working on for 2 or 3 years, or at least I have. Bray and Matt have come out and done a couple of projects with me. But see what all is involved in going from a timber track to really, if I don't say so myself, I know it's my work, but it is a premier recreational property now. It's not finished. We've still got projects to go. These things take time, take money. Takes a little bit of time to mature. But we're going to have some guest speakers that's going to talk, food plotting from a regenerative ag standpoint to, cutting timber in a manner that benefits wildlife. Talking about fire timing, we're going to light some fire if Lord willing, the weather cooperates. Going to have some equipment out there that drills and tools of trade that we use that we can give a little insight on what could help make you a little more productive. And yeah, it's going to cost you some money up front, but be a little more efficient. And I'm going to mention again, we're going to feed you, and it's going to be fine.
Oh yeah, yeah. And listen, I believe right now there are 4 like teaching your classroom type settings. Then we're going to break for lunch, and it will be good. And then after that, then we'll be a hands-on, learn and burn type stuff to kind of wrap up the day. So,
and we're going to have opportunities for folks that if you're not interested in burning, most people are. We're going to talk about food plots, the regenerative ag side, cutting timber, spraying, planting trees. We're going to have people there. If somebody's not really interested in fire because they know they're not going to do it, we're going to be able to talk about a variety of management practices that have taken place on that property. And we're going to talk really nuts and bolts and dollars and cents on what it took to get that property from a timber tract to where it is today.
mm-hmm.
So we're going to give detail, and this is detail that not everybody's going to give you.
Yep. And I know that this is we haven't mentioned this either, but whenever we actually make that sign up for that event available, which will hopefully be in the next couple of days or so, we'll have a link where you can sign up, pay, get registered, all those types of things. It is capped at 50 people. Okay.
Yeah.
So please, if you have any interest, it is in the North Alabama area. So if you're, whatever the top half of Alabama, if you're, West Georgia, North or South Tennessee, Mississippi, whatever, if you're in the area, we can only really, for this particular workshop, can only accommodate about 50 people. So
Yeah.
And it's going to be good. Yeah, promise you, it's going to be well worth your money and well worth your
You
time.
may hate everything that we stand for and talk about, but there's going to be a lot of people know this name. Steve Cotney is going to be one of our speakers,
Mhm.
who is one of the best biologists in the Southeast. I mean, he just is. He's been successful at everything he's done, but he's really going to dig into the regenerative ag planting practices. And I mean, my gosh, it's worth the cost just to come hear him talk.
For sure. But yeah, so keep your eyes peeled for that. We'll have more info and way to sign up and all that good stuff. But I think that'll just about wrap us up today. And we really appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Again, like, share, follow, subscribe, all the things. Tell a buddy about us. We'd greatly appreciate that. And go see Jeremy at NWTF. The rest of us won't be there, but he might be there, I think, on Friday, right?
Yeah, I think I'm planning on maybe going up Thursday night, spending the night, and being there all day Friday. There's a possibility we may shift that to going up Friday and being there Saturday, but just not real sure yet. The wife's going,
Yeah.
so we've got a schedule around her, breaking away from her duties uh, as a therapist and clinician.
That's
So
right.
I've got to get her gone and have a little time away from the office. So excited to see a lot of people that I used to make all the show circuits with for 20 plus years. Don't get to do them much anymore. Just don't have the time. And gonna see some people I don't want to see.
There you go.
Which is honest, but it is what it is.
Yeah, hey, there'll be
I'll enjoy it regardless.
people of every variety. So,
That's it.
so we appreciate you guys, and we will see you on the next one.
Out.
Let's